Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Irfan Khan and Joseph DiVirgilio. Welcome back to another episode of the Equity Market Recap.
What investors must know this week. Hi,
Yep.
I'm Joseph DiVirgilio, hedge fund manager with over 25 years of experience running hedge funds on Wall Street, mainly long short equity funds. And I am known for having established the very first sustainability focused hedge fund back in
I'm
2004.
Irfan and I am Joe's partner in crime and investor. And as you might have noticed, there's something a little off with my voice because I have a big cold today. But
Yeah, that it's quite obvious. It was me last week, and I still am with this cough. So if I do cough, forgive me. But yeah, today's we're gonna talk about the equity market recap, weekly performance of the indices, the economic data, geopolitical things. We're gonna get to all of that, but before we do, we're gonna start with, as usual, the
some
statistic of
numbers,
the week.
some numbers for you. Yes. Listen to this. So in 1908, so fine, it was more than a century ago, the Dow Jones earnings were cut in half, yet the index gained 46%.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it wasn't just in 1908. I mean, that was the most notable um, phenomenon, if you will. But there have been instances where the earnings estimates have been cut and the indices do whatever they want. And so that's the reason why stay invested. Don't try to predict the market based on facts because sometimes the market is irrational. It does whatever it wants to do. So if earnings were cut in half back in 1908 on the entire Dow Jones Industrial Average, you would think that the market would go down by the percentage estimate reduction. But that didn't happen. So stay invested. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to use facts because the market is the greatest humiliator. This is a phrase that I'm borrowing from Ken Fisher, which I worked with for a short period of time, and I loved him. He was
And
very
and
insightful.
as we said it, and as we said before, and we never get tired of saying it. We talk about things that we do here, but it is in no way intended to be investment advice. So if you want to take what we share with you, please
Consult with
talk
your financial advisor.
consult with your financial advisor before you go ahead with any of the ideas that you might
Hear from
hear
from us. Yeah,
hear from. Yeah.
we're discussing our portfolio here, what we see going on in the market, the stock that we like, or the stocks we like, how we position our portfolio. But this has nothing to do with what you need to do. You need to talk to your financial advisor before you make any move with regards to your investments, your finances. So we'll get into the equity market recap, the market summary, the week ending in March 2026. The major indices they all logged their third consecutive down week as energy prices weighed on this sentiment. So what does that mean? It means that markets were down again because of what's going on in the Middle East. But that's just not only the only reason. There's also some economic data which we'll get to, which has weighed on the markets. So the weekly performance was S&P 500 was down 1.9%. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq respectively 2.1%. Now they were all around the same. They all had the same or almost the same percentage drop. So that means it's broad based. The one that was smacked the most, which is one that I didn't cite, was the Russell 2000, which is a small cap index. That index really got smacked around even further. And to go into the economic data that helped the market, or contributed to the market downtrend. Last week we had one again. Inflationary data, very sticky. The Fed decided not to cut rates. Labor market looked very weak, but then the private sector is showing a little bit of a sign with not enough. So we had a big drop in the unemployment number came in hotter than expected, or worse than expected, but then we had the intra-weekly numbers that were a little better than expected. So we have a bit ups and downs on the unemployment data, but CPI is steady at 2.4%. The PPI is around 3.4%, and this was pre-invasion of Iran. So this data did not factor in the energy prices and food prices post February 28th, which is when we invaded Iran. So this is.
Let me correct you. It's not an invasion. There's a bombardment going on. There haven't been boots on the ground yet.
Okay, well, yeah, us Americans attacking Iran. Okay, let's just. I don't want to get. You're probably right. There's a bit of a subtle difference in definition, but nevertheless, there's a war going on, and many don't like to call it war because then somebody in the White House would have to have approval from Congress. So they call it a special military operation or whatever. He actually called it. Somebody told him. You could use the word incursion. I guess somebody around Trump said, but he went out there and kept repeating the word excursion. Like, what do you walk in a park? What is this? I was like, so he doesn't even get his fucking.
Let's go for a hike in the mountains.
Yeah, he doesn't even get his fucking words right. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But nevertheless, so let's talk about what's going on in the Middle East a second. So. We were the first to report that the consequences of going into Iran would actually not only lead to higher prices on energy, because 20% of oil and gas comes out of that region or transits through that region, but because obviously we have a bunch of fertilizer installations in the area, which are the input for the global food supply. And so there's I think I read somewhere 20,000 ships stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, or some obscene number. I could be wrong, but anyways, so these numbers that we've seen, the economic data that we saw this past week, does not include what's going on in Iran. Now, I saw Scott Bessent the day before yesterday. He's a Treasury Secretary for the U.S., and he went on TV on Fox Business, I believe it was, and he said something that made me question who's in control here. Because one, he said that the U.S. was considering lifting sanctions off of Russian oil, and I think they probably did for a month or whatever, because while Russia provides intel to Iran on American positions. But then he went further and said something to the effect that they were going to unsanction Iranian oil. So you're going to unsanction oil from the country you are attacking.
Yeah, I heard that.
As absurd as that may sound, he also said that between Russian and Iranian oil already on the sea, meaning its own ships, sanctioned ships, it's around 350 to 400 million barrels. Okay, let's even take that face value. Let's even pretend that is true. I would say it's more or less about a half of that. But then he went to say, he said that would be 10, 15 days of supply. The most ignorant cat around the corner of my house knows that we produce globally about 100 million barrels a day. And that is the global output and input. That's what we need, more or less, every day. How do you get 400 million to last you 10 days? You got to explain that to me. You said 10, 15 days, something. I mean, to say that he's an idiot is just an understatement. I mean, You're
Could
going
be
on.
that he was referring not to the needs of the entire world, but just to those who actually get their oil from the Strait
I don't
of
give a
Hormuz.
shit what he was referring to. If you're going to go on national TV and you're the Treasury Secretary, you better articulate what you're saying, eloquently and with data. You don't go out and saying, oh yeah, 400 million barrels of oil from countries that we've actually sanctioned. We will unsanction those, and it's going to be 15 days worth of supply. How do you get to? If it's 4 days, you're lucky. So, nevertheless, to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, I woke up this morning. You know how I'm I'm very critical of this administration because there's very little predictability. No, zero predictability really. And I woke up to Donald Trump tweeting on one of his fucking social media sites that if within 48 hours, if Iran does not open up the Strait of Hormuz in 48 hours, he's going to bomb their energy infrastructure. Go ahead. This guy is such an idiot because the moment he does that, when his presidency is over, he can't leave the United States because he'll be arrested for war crimes. It's a war crime to attack energy infrastructure. And you're out there advertising that that's what you will do?
Well, the U.S. does not recognize the International Criminal Court of Justice anymore.
Well, yeah, okay. As long as he stays in the United States for the rest of his life and he doesn't take a plane, the $400 million Qatari jet, and he's going to go somewhere because he's going to get arrested. I mean, he's going to be just confined to the countries that do not believe in the ICC. Israel and the U.S. Or, well, Russia. It is just incredible. It's just whatever's coming out of this White House is just, it is obviously extremely unplanned. Everything was done, like I said, I remain of the fact that this war was first, it was Israel that pulled the United States into this, and Trump saw no better reason to do it, or to do this, to distract from the Epstein files, because there are a bunch of bombs were about to be dropped from
Well, how much do you think this really has distracted people from the Epstein files, though?
Oh, it has. I mean, to a certain degree, but it's like you're starting a war, and you take the opportunity because Bibi Netanyahu is saying, "Listen, this is a distraction for you. I'm going to be happy if we freaking eliminate Iran off the map. If we." And so you're starting a war to distract from the Epstein files, and I got to tell you, he's probably going to release all the unreleased and unredacted Epstein files to distract from World War III. I mean, that's the problem here.
Wow.
Because Israel today has been calling for other nations to join the war. Why? Who would want to join you? I have nothing against Israel. I just have a lot against Netanyahu, because he's a dictator, extremist, who's never believed in a two-state solution for the Middle East, speaking about Palestine and Israel. If he could, he'd exterminate every Muslim there is. That's the end of the story.
It doesn't help that he's got those two extreme right people in his government, right? As well.
But regardless of that, he doesn't want Muslims around him, right? So he's an extremist even before he took office, before his political career. I watched some documentaries and some videos of him, or what he was saying 40 years ago. The guy's a nutcake. Just a nutcake who found the dumbest president in U.S. history to go along with him, because the dumbest president in U.S. history had issues with the Epstein files, right? So he had to do something about it. And now those unredacted remaining 3 million documents are going to be the catalyst to distract from War III. Because that's where we are. We're very close to that right now. This one guy, deranged criminal pedo, has basically screwed up the world for everybody. 100+ years of very carefully crafted, trade agreements, defense agreements, whatever treaties. Here we go. He just threw a wrench inside the freaking, between the tires and that was the wheels, and that was the end of it. I don't know how bad this is going to end, but the MAGA coalition is going crazy. I see lots of his supporters just really throwing in the towel. Anyways, let's go to stock of the week.
Yep.
Something a little more.
Stock of the week is IONQ. What is IONQ?
IONQ is one of the players in the quantum computing space. Now, I am not a computer scientist, but I've looked at all of these companies. So quantum computing, Rigetti, and IONQ, and a couple of others. And as far as what they're doing, I think IONQ will be the winner. Now, there's one catalyst here. Well, actually, one issue. Google is very much the biggest competitor of IONQ. Now, IONQ doesn't have the capital that Google has. But IONQ could be either a really good second player, or they might just, get to some sort of milestone before Google does, and Google buys them out. So I recently added this company to my portfolio because I like the numbers. I like the direction in which they're going. I like the incremental progress they've made in comparison to the competition. But it is a stock that it carries some risk because
it's a pure long-term play.
Oh yeah, I mean, while quantum computing is a very fascinating topic in science, I think that before we see the maturity, the fruits of this, will probably be 5 to 10 years. So, but if you position yourself with a company that has already done a lot in comparison to the competition, but perhaps not as much as Google because just they can't compete with Google, but there's a space for them. And even as far as valuation is concerned, IONQ is my preferred. So I put a little bit of money in this company to see what happens. And see, I mean, obviously I have I have a strategy for a stop loss in the event that the stock does go below where I think, it's just too much for me to want to keep on holding it. But it looks like there's a good chance that this stock can do well in the future. So I took a little bite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, please don't take this as financial advice. IONQ is a stock that is speculative. They don't earn any money yet, but while their financials, their balance sheet is better than the rest of them, except Google, of course. But don't take this as financial advice. Always talk to your financial advisor before you do anything. And make sure you comment, share.
Like and subscribe.
You like and subscribe to this channel to help us out. We're trying to send in a little bit of a message on which you guys can rely for at least a second opinion or whatever it is that if you're following somebody else, we might be able to give you a second opinion. Now, stock market, just going back to the performance of the stock market last week, the S&P 500 has actually broken below the 200-day moving average, which it did last time in April 2025, Liberation Day, whatever, the announcement of the tariffs. I think the market is oversold, and I think that there's going to be a bounce. I don't know if it's going to be sustained. We'd have to see how it plays around the moving averages. But the 200-day moving average seems to be quite, not so violated, but one more leg down, and we're going to have to reassess the situation here because with stagflation, so no growth or very low growth and high unemployment and prices, you get stagflation, you're going to get a recession, it might be a global recession. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now that if something doesn't change, we're going to, we may be talking about the complete opposite next week. So Just remember that it seems like the market is oversold. There's a need for a relief bounce, and let's see if we get it, and let's say how if it sticks. Feel
Yeah,
free.
there's absolutely no room for predictability, is there? These
Not
days?
anymore. Not with this guy. No. But hey, we enjoy reading your messages, your comments. So please feel free to ask us anything you want. If you want us to talk about something, any topic, which is finance related, of course. Here we are.
Very well then, Joe. In the hopes that by next week your cough will be gone and my cold will be gone as well. We shall meet again soon.
Absolutely. Everybody have a good weekend, or oh well, the last day of the weekend is Sunday, and we'll see each other next week.
Yep. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.